questions right now, or what do you think? What do you think is the best format here, Jake and I?
Jake and Nah. Um,
Jake and I.
yeah, man. So I think that we should kind of just have a nice conversation, just kind of get into some updates. I know we haven't heard from you in a little while. So it'd be nice, yeah, just for everyone to kind of hear from you, your point of view of what's going on, and then we can get into some questions. I know we have tons of questions, courtesy of Darren. It's like,
Oh man, I'm hoping I'm ready for Darren's questions. He comes prepared.
oh, he comes prepared, and there's literally 26 of them. So
Oh,
oh yeah.
26.
So we likely won't cover them all, but yeah, we'll do our best to cover most of them. And so yeah, man. So Kevin, tell us a little bit about what you've been up to, a little bit about what's going on up there, and yeah, we'll start like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously busy times. Construction's done. We got our permit to deliver ore. We've been working through some low grade material that we use to commission our sample plant. And we're using that same material to ship down the highway as sort of like a litmus test to New Afton. How does it work? Is everything good? So February was a bit of a challenge because New Afton logistically wasn't as far along as we were with the commissioning of their sample plant. So they put a cap on how many tons we could deliver to them, and they continued to try to get their sample plant running correctly. Something they're still struggling with. They're a larger mine, so not totally unexpected. What we've done as a short-term solution is they have a different sampling technique that they're using, and they're now processing material at around 200 tons a day, which allows us to continue trucking ore to them. And we've been able to remove the cap on how much ore we've been able to ship to them. So not a banger of a month in February. I think we'll realize probably 500,000 to 600,000 in revenue. We're just finally finalizing the settlement report with New Afton right now. From a payment and settlement perspective, everything's going very smoothly. And then on the flip side, we carried a lot of momentum into the end of February. And in March, we're already way ahead of schedule and way out in front of our targets as far as what we're hoping to deliver. Uh, and feeling pretty confident at the moment that from a operations perspective, the ore control is going to stay dialed in, and we're going to continue to be able to hit the grade in the resource, if not exceed it, which will mean more ounces than the 70,000 tons was initially thought to deliver. So um, while February was a little bit of a slow start, we're definitely finding our feet momentum wise. We're delivering higher grade material, which is obviously going to have a serious bump on revenue. Vladimir Putin seems to be very supportive in world order being sort of in flux. So
Yeah.
that's had a impact on the gold price. So from a geopolitical standpoint, the timing's excellent to be going into production and making money. So we're really excited about that. Obviously, there were some delays on getting the permit to deliver to New Afton. Again, larger mine, sort of slower process, and that one we weren't as much in control of as our mining and environmental permit. So the treasury is still intact. We're in good shape. We definitely need to get the revenue turned on to juice the treasury back up so that I'm in a position where I feel comfortable. We are getting into breakup in probably the next 2 to 3 weeks on site. So that means our phase 3 expiration program will be winding down. Phase 3 really focused on the perimeter of the pit that we're currently mining to add more ounces, continue to show that growth and expansion. But what we've also been doing is a lot of confirmation drilling inside the pit. Number one, to flush out our understanding of the geological model even better than we already do. There was a few areas in the pit where we weren't happy with some of the spatial data gaps, so we wanted to infill those and just make sure when we go in there to mine it, we have a really clear understanding of the geometry of the wireframe that we're mining. The ore that's coming out of the ground is looking great. I'll send some pictures in the chat to you guys of what we're up to, and we're looking to make a video of the whole process up there as well. So I think it'll be great to share with you guys so you can kind of see like a live and in person on what it is we're doing up there, and just get a real clear understanding of the entire process. And then coming out of breakup, which typically on our site is mid-May to late May, when the ground starts to harden up a bit and it's more workable for the drill. We're going to be getting a groundwork program done. We're going to be doing a lot of magnetics over areas that we've already drilled out in some of the satellite zones. So that'll be like elusive zone. There's an elusive west zone that is showing more base metals in the soils that we're excited about for that bulk tonnage target. Any of you guys following this story would have saw the elusive zone results. It looks like we stumbled onto more of this high grade mineralization, which is obviously super exciting. And the grades for these first holes were phenomenal for a zone that's never been drilled before, but we still are porphyry hunting. And it looks like a little bit further out to the west based on the soil sampling campaign that we did last summer. So get the drills out there, do some magnetics. We really want to hone in our drill targets. We don't want phase 4 just to be about getting drills turning for the sake of them turning. We've had a lot of success and been very consistent with hitting and intercepting. It's important to me that we continue to do that if we're going to spend dollars on drilling. So this IP work is going to kind of go in front of where the drills are. And we're going to continue to target really prospective targets with the interest of, new discoveries and showing that upscale potential outside of Siwash North Zone. From an operations standpoint, obviously getting a mine started is a huge undertaking. The sample plant was a lot more than I anticipated to get it commissioned. But it is commissioned now, and it's running in a fashion that we're quite happy with. Still some tweaks, obviously, as you get into the business and you learn how things run. There's things you do differently, so we're continuing to massage it and get it to the point where we're totally happy with it. If there ever is such a thing with a personality type like mine. And then on the mining side, the ore control, we stumbled a bit in October and November with our ore control. We spent a lot of December and early January making sure our processes were dialed in. And then we had that low grade stockpile that we were using to sort of dial in the sample plan at the same time. Ore control, definitely not where I wanted it in January, but now that we're starting to process and ship the stuff that we mined in February, giving us a lot of confidence that we are doing what we need to be doing to not only meet the geological model, but hopefully exceed it, which this initial data in March is suggesting. By the end of this week, I anticipate we'll have shipped around $2.3 million Canadian worth of ore. And our target was 3.2 for the month of March in our current budget. So feeling good that number is going to hold, and that I'm looking to smash that if possible and catch up for some of our fall downs in February and get the revenue back on track. We're in an interesting opportunity right now as well because our permit was issued October 29th. So that means our 70,000 tons can be consumed between February 1st and October 29th. And in the last fiscal quarter for Gold Mountain, which is November to January, we can start taking from next year's allocation in the permit and really get caught up on the revenue or hopefully exceed it dramatically. So good opportunity to not only meet but beat expectations on that front. Coming out of this phase 3 exploration program, I'd like to get a resource update done. We're currently discussing that. I think you're going to see a lot of inferred ounces upgraded to indicated and measured, which is important because for our pre-feasibility study, those economics are based off of reserves. So only measured and indicated will count for that, and none of the inferred. So we're trying to upgrade as many as we can. The PFS obviously is something that we feel is important, even though we're confident mining the open pit portion of this project at a PEA level study. We still maintain the importance of getting into a PFS for the underground development, which is slated to start in year 4 of the mine plan. And then we're also looking at ways to accelerate that underground development. The current decline on site that we purchased with the property, it is already down to a very high grade pocket of mineralization. In conversations with the regulators about what a bulk sample from down there would look like, and based on the economics that we've run, we could pay for all of the development costs of the underground decline upgrade, as well as put some money in our jeans, especially where gold's trading today. Put some money in our jeans and also ensure that the development of the underground portion of the mine was also completed early, so that the regulator review and permitting portion of the underground bulk sample would then be the other piece in order to go down there and get that grade going. It would also give us more throughput from the mine as far as ounces go that we could deliver to New Afton. So, same old story for us. We're always looking at ways to shave margin, always looking at ways to improve, always looking at ways to boost revenue and continue showing the market that, this isn't a Vancouver promote. We're building a real company, and we have big intentions of continuing to show that growth trajectory for the company. That kind of covers it from an elk perspective. We'll get our first check on the 17th, and then I think I'll provide the market with an update around the 22nd of March that will let them know just how much we got in February, and also how we're tracking for March, and what our proposed mine plan is for April. And that'll kind of be guidance light that we'll be looking to share with the market to give them an impression of where we want to go with this, and that we're still super aggressive of growing the company and always having that trajectory of more. And then obviously get into a more formal guidance as we sort of flush out the mine plan, flush out just what the capacity is exactly of New Afton, and get into more vanilla production on that side of things. Beyond the elk, we're looking at numerous projects at the moment. It's got to be the right fit. It's got to make sense if it's going to be dilutive. It's got to make sense if it's going to require more cash. And ultimately, we want to find another safe jurisdiction somewhere fairly close to home, and something that's got that potential for our operations focused team to go in and get it rapidly put into production, get it into cash flow, take advantage of these gold prices where they are today and where we feel they're going in the coming months. And yeah, again, show that growth model, show we're serious about creating a larger producer here off of the successes that we're planning to have at the elk. From a market perspective, obviously the whole junior mining space, especially precious metals, have been pretty frustrating over the last number of months, 18 months, depending on how you look at it and your time horizon. What's really important for Gold Mountain is to just continue executing on our game plan. We have faith in where the precious metals markets are going. We have faith that there's a revaluation in gold price that's due. And we're just going to keep driving this business forward. If somebody told me when we took over the project May of 2019 that gold was going to be trading above $1,900 an ounce and it was going to be, testing all-time highs, I would have I would have told you that you were crazy. But that's where we find ourselves today, and we feel very fortunate to have those type of economic tailwinds supporting our project. But with that low all-in sustaining cost, we also have the confidence to keep driving this forward no matter what. So while there was some frustration in the consolidation in the precious metals miners, we're driving forward. I don't think the miners have seen any kind of uptick from this gold price yet. I think the bull run is still very much in its infancy. And I think Gold Mountain, especially, is the share price is in its infancy. We've been beaten down. We now have an institution, at least one institution, that is putting an accumulation algorithm on our stock. You'll notice a lot of RBC, TD, CIBC, and most recently Merrill Lynch kind of playing like ticky tag with our stock, 100 shares, trying to drive it down, trying to flush out weak hands. And what that is right now is Franklin Templeton. They took a 4.5 million share cross, which is a significant amount of money. We're talking north of $6 million that they've put into the market in open market buying. They continue to accumulate. They're looking to put together a syndicate of 3 major precious metals funds. It would be Van Eck, ASA Merck, and themselves. They're really pushing us to do a financing, which is why I think they're running this accumulation algo to sort of stunt any excitement in our stock, but also to pick up as many cheap shares as possible. It would also give them an opportunity to finance into our company at what I feel are extremely low valuations. And that's why it's so important that we drive on the revenue side of the equation so that we hold our leverage, that we don't need to do a financing. If we do a financing, it'll be by choice, and it has to be at the right price for our long-term shareholders who have been supporting us, management included, because you guys have seen our insider buys. We're buyers pretty much every day that ends in Y, and we'll continue to be buyers because even when it was $2 or $2.50, we see the value creation here, and we continue to put shares in strong hands, which is extremely important to maintaining that structure. So from a market perspective, hopefully that provides you guys some insights on where we are today. And again, with the price of precious metals and all the uncertainty going on with USD and Euro hegemony, and whether those currencies are going to be able to survive the test of time, and whether some of these commodity exporting nations are starting to grow leery of the weaponization of money that we're seeing from some of these Western economies, I see now more than ever an opportunity for a lot of these central banks, a lot of these large offshore institutions to go back to gold as a safety and to provide some certainty against inflation in the USD and the euro especially. I think the euro is in a real tough spot. You're seeing that with its price in gold terms. And I think you're going to continue to see issues there, especially if this Ukraine Russia things persist. So when you're in the precious metal space, I wouldn't say you have to be a doomer, but there is definitely certain volatility on the geopolitical front that supports the narrative of golds being safe havens and good inflation hedges. And I think we're in one of those environments right now, as unfortunate as it is what's going on in Ukraine. But with these, G7 economies challenging Russia, and this interesting dynamic between Russia and China that you're seeing, I see a lot of tailwinds on not only gold, but silver, which is a small part of our resource. But with prices of silver headed where I think they will be over the next 6 to 12 months, I think it'll become a 5 to 7% kicker on the revenue that we make. So it could get interesting. And overall, I think that's kind of a healthy update for you guys.
Yeah, that was no, that was very in depth. Really appreciate that, Kevin. I felt like you made my job easy. I just didn't even have to ask questions. You just you just went ham there. That was great. Thank you.
No problem.
Cool. So with that, let's take a little bit of pressure off of Kevin, and now let's just jump into the Q&A. I'll ask a couple questions, and then, guys, if you want to ask Kevin a question yourself, I'll guide you to the bottom of your screen. Just put up your hand, show a request, and when yeah, and then I'll accept your request. You'll come up here and ask your question yourself. Okay, so let's just get started with a couple questions here. So, uh, what do you have like in terms of plan, in terms of the expected timing for the environmental studies to support mining permit to 65,000 or 100,000 ounces?
Yeah, so it's a pretty prescribed process through the EAO, which is the Environmental Assessment Office.
Mm-hmm.
We have had our confidential phone call with them. We're planning to submit our letter to them, advising them that we are going to expand our project and we need their feedback on whether or not it is going to require an environmental assessment. They're still doing their analysis on whether or not it's going to be required. Because we're not really increasing the footprint of our waste rock storage facility at all. So there might not even be the necessity for it. The only caveat to that is this is an important piece for a lot of the indigenous communities that surround our project. And we've done a really good job of building strong relationships and being very respectful. So I would imagine they're going to make a big push for the baseline work, which we're already well underway on. And my hope is that we can stick to that timeline of ramping up in year 4 of our mine plan to the higher production profile of 65,000 ounces a year. So from my perspective, timeline's still intact. The only delay there is when the mine plan started. And we're doing as much as we can to accelerate getting up to 65,000 ounces a year and maintaining that target of one of the last quarters in 2024.
Fantastic. You spoke about New Afton earlier. Obviously, you have a relationship with them. How is that relationship and any other relationship that you have in those terms holding up right now?
Yeah, New Afton, I'd say we have a phenomenal relationship with them outside of that sort of we have a big mine, you're a small mine mentality. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we're constantly battling that because they are a big operation. And from a tonnage perspective, we're quite small. But I think what they forget is how high a grade our material is and just how dramatic of an impact it has on their business. No issues so far on reconciliation of what we think we delivered and what they think they received. All of those processes are well in hand and going really good. We expect the March 17th payment to get made. And overall, it's just going to be our job to make sure we're the squeaky wheel and that we're getting paid on time and that reconciliation reports are getting processed quickly. So really good on that front. From a Newellman Lake, who is our mining contractor, as well as doing our deliveries and highway haulage to New Afton. That relationship's going well. It took them a little bit of time to find their feet on the ore control, as well as some of the survey requirements in order to get a really tight ore control. But we're fortunate in that we've got a really strong operations team who supported them, and we're getting them right dialed in. Obviously, when you transition from waste rock mining into ore mining, it's a lot more detailed work, and you got to be a lot more careful than when you're just bulking waste out of the pit. So that's going really well. AEW, who does our archaeology and environmental work and is also an Indigenous-owned business, we have a really strong relationship with them. They're preparing all of our reports for compliance. It also gives them a ton of transparency to make sure that we're good operators and things are going well. So that relationship's going good. And the way this business was designed is it's quite simple. There's not a bunch of different relationships to manage. So that's really it from a vendor's perspective, as well as for New Afton being the ones receiving our ore. So we're quite happy with how everything's going. Obviously, when you start a mine, there's some wrinkles that have to be ironed out, but nothing that we can't manage or we didn't expect to have to get through.
Fantastic. When should an investor value GMTN by NAV, net asset value, versus EPS, earnings per share?
Um,
Like, when do you think that that would become appropriate for each?
I think that re-rate is yet to happen, obviously.
Okay.
And then I think once we put out the messaging on, we did get paid, we weren't happy with how we got paid. We're tracking for this in March, and we show the market, that we're confident that the ore control is there and that the revenue is going to be hitting, and we're going to be able to meet, the mine plans projections. I think that's going to turn some heads. And then I think once we confirm to the market that we got paid for March and how much we got paid for March, which will be mid-April, I think that's when the market's really going to start to say, okay, if these guys can be having $1 million weeks and there's 52 weeks in a year, and gold price is where it is right now, I think that's when we start to see that transition, and people are going to take us more serious on the production front, because a lot of these institutions continue to want to like minimize what we're doing, but I think some of that is because it's just not done all that often, and they hear the stories and they never pan out. But if we can thread the needle, which I feel like we're right there, if we can thread the needle over the next couple months, bring that cash flow in, make that Equinox payment, which is a big risk factor for a lot of people. I think we're going to turn some heads and show them that, this mine can hold water, and it's going to be able to support as much non-dilutive growth as possible. So I think the elk is very much still delivering on what we said it could, and I think mid-April, early May, when we start to give that positive reinforcement to the market that guidance is being met, is when you would expect that transition.
Fantastic. Thanks for that update. Now I'm going to open it up to anybody else who has questions. Please, if you do have a question, just raise your hand. There's a button at the bottom of your screen there, so just raise your hand. I'll bring you up. We'll open that up for questions for about 10 minutes or so. Darren, don't be shy. I know you got plenty of questions. There you go.
I could not have gotten all 25 of Darren's questions and the 6 that came up during my presentation. So come on, Darren.
There you go. You're good, Darren. Go ahead.
Hey, you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think you hit like 90% of them. You're awesome. So I've only got one real question, actually, maybe two. So I was curious to know on the elusive zone, when you look at Siwash North and how depth the mine is for the underground mining, how deep is the Siwash North plan versus where you're discovering some of the results on elusive, and does it even look economic potentially for elusive in the future, given the depth?
Yeah, absolutely. So good questions. We're at about 250 meters, 275 meters on the bottom of our resource. I'm sure you've got it in front of you and are laughing at me because I'm wrong, but I think that's the range we're in for the bottom of the resource. Our phase 3 drill program right now is actually connecting with the 1300 vein, which is our most economic, at around 350 to 375 meters below topography. So it's persisting at depth, and these are like 9-inch wide intercepts, which is not common. So we're hoping it's thickening up at depth. With the amount of drilling we have at elusive, I mean, I could speculate and say I think it's going to be the same size pit, and we're going to have 3 million ounces by the time it's all said and done. I don't think I have enough data to give you a confident answer on that yet. What I will say is that we hit it with 5 different holes. There's width to it, there's depth to it. We don't fully understand what we're working with yet. And that's why we're so excited to get the drills out there this spring, summer, and continue targeting that after we've done some magnetics, which will hopefully give us a little bit more definition so we can target that thing really accurately with these next holes that we put into it. That was kind of a long-winded way of saying the depth of Siwash North, but not really answering the depth of elusive zone. But hopefully you're able to take something away from that that's valuable.
You can go after it. That was the key thing.
Yeah, no, we're going after it for sure.
So I guess just the last question is so out of all the different zones that you've looked at, whether it's lake or elusive or whatnot, which ones are you most excited about?
Yeah, I mean, I think Lake and South, the reality is there's going to be a lot of drilling that needs to be done. I personally want to spend, if we're going to be drilling that sort of otter intrusive geology, I want to be spending those dollars continuing to maximize the Siwash North. Number one, it's permitted. Number two, we can realize the cash flow off it the soonest. But I definitely think we're going to be drilling those zones out and continuing to expand those resources at some point. Elusive zone, where we drilled last time, great results. It shows that there's definitely more high grade open pit expansion potential. But as you guys know, I'm really after trying to find that copper gold porphyry over in the elusive geology, which is more the volcanics. And I think we're going to head further west with the drills and go elephant hunting for a good portion of spring and summer here, because I think that really adds a lot of torque to our story if you can add some of that bulk tonnage flavor to it. And then there's an area right in the center of our property at the south that we're really excited about. We've got a lot of stuff going on the surface that suggests another base metals target that's totally different than what we see in Siwash and very different what we're seeing in both the elusive and the elusive west. I would love to get a drill out there and poke a hole in that too, so that we have sort of like 5 or 6 different fronts where we've got data collection going on, and we can decide, where to push it and what's going to give the best growth potential for the company.
That's awesome. Last question, since you're just doing so well. So how are the costs and expenses coming along? Is everything tracking within the budgets that you're seeing?
Yeah, we had that Capex that nobody's thought that we could hit. I'm about $400,000 under that Capex. I saved a bunch of money by deferring the waste rock storage facility. That was about a $1.7 million spend. Because I recognized with how things were going at the sample plant that we likely were going to need a little bit more money there. We actually didn't need as much money as I thought we did. So we're tracking under on that Capex. The only caveat to that is when the waste rock storage facility does get constructed, we're going to have to absorb that from proceeds of mining. I'm considering, just based on our dump capacity with our road construction throughout site, it looks like I can actually kick that till spring or summer 2023, which again just allows us to have more cash flow to fund exploration and expansion of actual production, as opposed to these waste facilities to receive material. So tracking well on the Capex. I'm glad we did a lot of the stuff that we did before inflation really took off, because I think material prices are a lot more expensive than we are now. And on the waste rock storage facility and the settling pond, that's all ditching type work. There's not a lot of material that's required for it. So that's why I made the decision to push that out, as we have locked in rates for the machinery and operators for that work over there in that zone. So is that enough detail?
That's awesome. Great answers. Thanks very much, Kevin. You guys are doing an awesome job.
Thanks, Darren. Really appreciate all your support.
Awesome. Anybody else? We'll take a couple more questions if there are. Just raise your hand if you want to come up. Feels like I'm in a classroom. No.
Hey, if he's not going to put his hand up, just got to give a shout out to Vyden as well. I know that guy's been a crazy supporter of what we're doing, along with yourself and Darren. So thank you, Vyden, for all your hard work, man, and giving us the positive vibes out there on the chats and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's
still waiting for Jay. Jay's still supposed to host a party, I think. So.
Oh, is he?
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, at the mine. At the mine.
I'm down. I'm down. I'm down.
Oh, man. Okay, great, guys. So going once, going twice. Going 3 times. All right, Kevin, you are good to get back on the road. You're awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time, man. Really, really appreciate it. As always, it's a pleasure to have you on. Keep going ham. You're doing your thing. Gold Mountain, baby, all the way. I got all the faith in the world, and I know that a lot of people in this Discord as well have that same faith. So yeah, man, looking forward to seeing the execution and seeing Gold Mountain rise.
Yeah, and I echo those sentiments, Jay. Gold Mountain's extremely grateful to have yourself as well as this community that you've built involved in our project. And I know I've been quiet on the Discord there, guys, but it's been a lot of time up at site focusing on grinding. And I do poke my head in every once in a while. And if I see anything that needs to be answered, I try to get to it. But I appreciate your guys' patience and support and looking forward to a really exciting 2022.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks, Kev. Take care. And thank you, everyone, for joining. Much appreciated. And have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Jay.